Easter. How about it? Now, we know the reason for Easter. Without Christ and the Christ story, Easter really doesn't have much of a point. But somewhere along the way, we have to have a little bunny that lays eggs. How do you equate one to the other? How does that happen? Now, in my own belief system, I believe that we are total beings. And so why ignore the white elephant in the room? Let's take a look at how this bunny and the eggs happened, and how the Easter story, how this touches our lives. Anybody know? About the bunny and the eggs and the whole bit? A couple of nodding heads. Well, after the Dark Ages had consumed so many people, there weren't very many people. So we needed to make more people. Easter, spring, was a time of fertility. And what better sign of fertility than the bunny? Because the bunny is one of the magical creatures on this planet that can actually get pregnant while carrying another litter. Isn't that crazy? And they can start having babies at a very, very young age. So the bunny became a real symbol for fertility that we needed around the 1500s. Now also, we can thank our Catholic friends for the little eggs. During the season of Lent, you weren't allowed to eat these things. So for 40 days, you couldn't eat them. But this wasn't a time of waste when your chickens would lay the eggs and you just throw them away. You had to hold on to them because you weren't sure when you were going to have more eggs. So for 40 days, we'd gather these little things. Our Catholic friends would. Now, anybody who knows how long an egg will stay a good egg knows that there's some things you got to do with that. And so what they would do at some point would be to hard boil them so they lasted longer. How about that? And they would actually put little flower petals in with the boiling water, and sometimes that would dye the eggs a different color. Also, it was another sign of fertility. So, we would give these eggs. Come Easter, when Lent was over, then we could eat. We could eat all the eggs. So here was this big stockpile of colored eggs mixed with the fertility symbol of a bunny. Now, in about the 1800s, Americans said, I'm really confused by this, so let's just put the two together. Let's make a magic bunny that lays colored eggs. And here we go. Welcome to Easter. So this is one part of our tradition that brought us from where we were to where we are. When I look at the Easter story, I look at not only the past, but I look at the present. They say that a good teacher teaches, but a great teacher inspires. I look at Easter, I look at the biblical story, I look at Christ, and I see an amazing teacher from the time I was a little kid, seeing my imaginary friend, the tall hippie guy, has been teaching me ever since. And there are so many things that we can learn from the Easter story. One of the things that pops out to my mind with the Easter story was a guy named Pontius Pilate. His job was to sentence people, to punish people, to sentence them to death on a cross. And here came this guy, Jesus, that hadn't done anything wrong. And he said, well, I don't want to do it. But all his friends, all the people said, put him to death. And he said, no, I don't want to do it. Now, have you ever been in a position of knowing inside what you need to do or not do, but having all kind of people tell you need to anyway? Pure pressure. So he decided to try to make it really easy for him. So he took the gnarliest feller in the dungeon and put him up on display. Raping, murdering feller. And he put Jesus up on the other side. And he said, okay, you all get to decide. I'm going to put one of these two guys to death. This guy who totally deserves it, or this guy who totally doesn't. And the crowd of people said, this guy. He washed his hands and he said, that's your choice. The blood's on your hands, not mine. And sentenced Jesus to die on the cross. What a tough position to be in, that he allowed other people to think for him, because that was his job. Did something that he didn't feel right about inside, because that was his job. After that decision was made down, he quit his job. And we all got to see what happened. Now with that, with good teachers tell, great teachers inspire. I ask you to look inside yourself when things come up in your world that say, in here I know I need to do this or to not do this. But all of these people are telling me that I need to do it, and all of these people are pressuring me to do it. Remember Pontius Pilate not as a negative, but as a teacher. Human beings are unique to this planet for having the ability to learn from the experiences and mistakes of others. We are equally as unique for our apparent disinclination to do so. We can learn from other folks. We can learn from this guy, Pontius Pilate. That's one thing that Easter really says to me. Another thing that it says to me is, just like in that video, when Jesus came back after 3 days, he wasn't mad. He was nothing but love. As it said, sunlight shining out of his eyes. Complete love, complete forgiveness. I bet you've been hurt in your life. I bet somebody has hurt you somewhere at some time. Do you choose to hold on to it? That they owe me something? That I won't be complete till I get it back from them? Or until they feel what I feel, the eye for an eye, that old mentality? Or can we look at Jesus, a teacher, as with everything that was done to him, he didn't show back up pissed off. He didn't show back up raining down hellfire and brimstone like the Old Testament would have. He showed up with simple love. Wow. Is that inspiring? Is there something in your life that's hurt you? That maybe following that example, being inspired by that example, you can let that go. You can make amends. No matter how you have been wronged, no matter how I have been wronged, I will venture a guess, that it does not compete with everything that Jesus endured on a cross, leading to death. Now, this isn't a contest. It's not like, I look at the abuse that I suffered as a child as a gift, because I can help other people who have been abused. Because people say, nobody can help me unless you've been there. You can't understand. And so I was given that gift of understanding. I was given that gift. Wow. Right? But then people say, a lot of times when folks come in, especially for counseling with overcoming some abuse issues, they say, yeah, but you can't understand the level of abuse that I went through. Like it's a contest. Like if I was only abused a little bit, I can't understand somebody who was abused a whole bunch. But because I was abused a whole bunch, then I can understand people who were abused less than I was, or more than I was, or however the mind tends to work on that. And I bring that up only because none of my story competes with Jesus' story. And he didn't go to therapy for 10 years to try to get over it. He didn't say morning affirmations and I'm going to learn how to forgive. He didn't say I'm going to carry around this cross the rest of my life and wear it proudly for everyone to see just how much I was punished, victimized, and wronged. He didn't do any of that. He let his true nature shine through. As the song says, help me remember who I am. When I hear the story of Jesus, the reminder of Easter, I'm reminded that it's only as tough as we want it to be. Here's someone who suffered more than we've suffered, who forgave much more easily than we have allowed ourselves in the past to forgive. We can, though. One of the things that Jesus says throughout the course of his ministry is, all of the things that I do, you can do, and then some. You have the power inside you to forgive. You have the power inside you to let your love shine. Or you have the power inside you to be the martyr who carries your cross. When the tall hippie guy showed up at my house, he wasn't nailed to anything. He wasn't dragging around these 4x4s or these railroad ties. Wow, I never even saw that side of him. I saw a cool, tall hippie guy who just smiled, who said, hey kid, let's go play outside. Come, show me your this. Let's go play over there. That's the guy I got to know. Nobody told me who Jesus was. I didn't even know what his name was until I went to go play at his house. And everybody else had a name for him, and I was like, wow, right on. At the time, I was only 5, but I thought, how silly. I never even asked the dude his name. It was just my buddy who showed up, right? But what can we learn from this? In the New Thought movement, we believe, first, historically, we can look at polytheism, where we believed in a whole bunch of different gods, right? No matter what happened, there was a god for it. Which then went to monotheism. There's one God who's in all things, so it's actually a whole bunch of gods because it's in everything, but it's only one, for simplicity's sake. But he's an old white guy, and he's angry, and he really like throws stuff at you and destroys whole worlds, so you don't want to piss him off. And then Jesus showed up as pure love. Wow. And Jesus taught us a bunch of stuff like, you don't have to die, ever. Even when somebody is no longer contained in this physical body, they still exist. Which now in science we can see energy can't be created or destroyed, blah, blah, blah. Wow, there's some more confirmation that Jesus was right. But the other thing that he did was he took away the old white guy on the throne who wanted to hurt you and be pissed off all the time, and replaced it with an example of love. Now, not just telling you, love thy neighbor, as you love yourself. But you be careful of those other fellers over here, okay? Those Muslims gonna burn in hell. And these other fellers gonna burn in hell, and anybody who's not in this room is gonna burn in hell, but we love them all, okay? Not that. Not the contradiction. No. What he showed was, you can do your worst to me, and I'm gonna follow my truth. And even after you have done your worst to me, I will show up right back here as unconditional love. Not a dog in a fight, not an axe to grind. Now think about this for a second. No matter what has happened in your life, when energetically, emotionally, we tie on to it, we make it part of our story with an emotional context, we create a karmic event. Do you think that Jesus created a karmic event with Pontius Pilate? Do you think that he created a karmic event with the Roman soldier who speared him in his side? Do you think that he created a karmic event by the ones who nailed him to the cross? Or the multitudes of people who came to gather, who didn't help him down off that thing? No, he didn't. And the reason that he didn't is because he didn't attach to it. If he would have attached to it and came back 3 days later, he'd have come back pissed. He didn't. On the cross, as he was dying, he looked at God, the God outside, the God inside, and he said, please forgive them. They know not what they do. When you're challenged in your life, do you look, whether it's into your past, we had an inner child workshop, into your early development years of all the bad stuff or good stuff or stuff you wish should have happened, didn't happen, could have happened different, or through your childhood, your adolescence, your adulthood? Maybe you didn't have the perfect parents. Maybe you haven't been a perfect parent. Maybe your life hasn't been written like a Bill Cosby show. Maybe your experience is different. But you don't need to hold on to it. If we look at what today is about, it's not about Christianity, it's about Christ. It's about a teacher, an amazing teacher. As God said, this is my son. God also said, this is my son, and this is my daughter, and this is my daughter, and this is my daughter, and that is my son. It's not about playing favorites. It's about this guy right here who got it. Talk about being ahead of your time. He got it a couple thousand years ago. And we're just now to the point where we're starting to understand not only what he was teaching, but the perspective that he had with teaching it. Wow. So when we look at each other and we say, Happy Easter, bring forth all of that with you. The example that Christ gave you. That example of letting it go, putting it down. He's not on the cross anymore. You need not be on your cross anymore either. And I believe that you'll find as you put your cross down, as he put his cross down, what you'll find on the other side is freedom. The same freedom that he had, that uninhibited love shining through his eyes, because not an axe to grind with anyone. For that, in that spirit and that nature, I say thank you, God. I say thank you, Jesus. And I put a challenge to myself to try to emulate that, to try to live like that, to try to do that. Now, whatever thing entered your mind during the course of this discourse, during the course of this talk, that thing that popped up that said, I'm totally with you, Scott, but boy, I'm not sure I can let this thing down. Just remember this guy, nailed to a cross, beaten, flogged, tortured, bad stuff, way against the Geneva Convention, right? 3 days, he came back with love shining through his eyes. Complete and total love, acceptance, and forgiveness for everyone. You are equally empowered to do that. Living by example gives us the ability to live by example also. And I pray that you do. And I pray that I do. And I believe, like on the song earlier, when I forget who I am, help remind me of the master plan. Together, we can help us. We can help each other. It's a team sport. Now, every week we have a giving and a receiving. And so most of the time, the receiving part happens the same way the giving part does. We pass around a basket and you get your goodie. And then we pass around a basket and you give if you're willing. Right? Sometimes in life that happens that way. Sometimes in life God hand delivers it right to our door. Other times, God doesn't. God says you can see it, but it's up to you to go get it. Now, all around this little area, you will find little pieces of Easter. And now that you know where it came from and why it came from, it's our gift to you, these little colored eggs. Now, at the Inner Child Workshop, we all created these in our mind. We did a 1-hour egg coloring extravaganza inside of our mind's eye, inside of a meditation, inside of about 3 minutes. So we invite you to come see what you created. Now, welcome up to the front, the Connections Choir. And we'll sing this through once, and when we sing it through the second time, we invite you to go around and collect your eggs and sing with us. The words are in your bulletin. And I think there's enough for just about everybody to have 2. If you get more than 2, give it to somebody else who doesn't have one. But welcome up to the front, the Connections Choir.
Here comes Peter Cottontail, hopping down the bunny trail. Hippity howdy, Easter's on its way. Bringing every girl and boy baskets full of Easter joy, things to make your Easter bright and gay. He's got jelly beans for deer, cottontail, up and down the bunny trail. Hippity hoppity, happy Easter Day.
I think it's really interesting that this song so closely resembles that other song that comes at Christmas time, right? Santa Claus coming to town. Anybody else see these similarities? It's like they kept the same tune and they just went, okay, birth, resurrection. Let's just mix up the words and throw in the bunny. So I get a little confused. We went through choir practice a couple times this morning and I kept singing the wrong words. So it was good. I had the cliff notes. Now we invite everybody to stand up and get you some eggs. Let's start that. Now we had a inner child workshop on Friday, and as adults we almost never get the time to have an Easter egg hunt, and today you do, and I still see some eggs. There's one by the fan.
Open your eyes.
I see that one. I think there's one back on that table in a glass thing. Now we didn't dye these with flower petals, so we don't want to leave them here too long. So we got to find them all. I think there's some over on this table with Mary over there. Adults having an Easter egg hunt. How cool is that? Sometimes it's like that in life. God brings us gifts and it's up to us to go find them. And once we find them, to collect them. Now, the other half of giving is receiving, and receiving is giving, and all these kind of things. So if God gave you enough to share some, we'd appreciate it if you did. But we ask you to take your gift in your hand. Next slide. So we invite you to take your gift in your hand. And money is just energy, so charge that energy with even more energy. And if you agree with what's on the screen in your bulletin about the prosperity prayer, we invite you to say it with us as you turbocharge your gift. Divine Spirit, bless these gifts. I welcome abundance in my life. Bless and multiply all that I am able to give and all that I am willing to receive. Woo.
Love is something if you give it away, give it away, give it away. Love is something if you give it away, you end up having more. It's just like a magic penny, hold it tight and you won't have any. Lend it, spend it and you'll have so many, they'll roll all over the floor.
Now I ask everybody, stand if you're able, and let's form a circle. If not, you can wheel a chair into your place. I invite you to feel Jesus, to feel forgiveness. If you still believe in sin, allow Jesus to take it away. It's what he came here to do. If you believe in karma, allow God's energy to wash away any old karma, any negativity, any negative energy. If you believe in energy work, fill your body all the way to the top with a glowing white light of God's love. And allow that to overflow and to spill out into the person next to you. Love, peace, forgiveness, renewal, replenishment. Letting go of anything that isn't love in your life. And welcoming in even more love to take the place of the old stuff that you're allowed to get rid of. We invite you to live the example that was lived for us. And to have your life be more enjoyable, more blessed, more bountiful, more abundant, more prosperous, more enthusiastic. and happier than it's ever been as you lay your cross down and get renewed from the source. Amen.